This is the story of a child whose father passed away when he was just 2 years old. His mother, through tremendous hard work, managed to achieve success in business despite being deceived by her business partner. Nevertheless, he built the most luxurious car of the century, a Mercedes-Benz. The lyrics mention that in the car, there were words like music, and the driver was the mother, who used to be a homemaker. When Carl Benz was 2 years old, his dad passed away. He went on to see his mother work in different places to support them. Inspired by his mother's hard work, Carl Benz became a diligent student. At the age of 15, he qualified for the mechanical engineering exam and secured admission to the Karlsruhe Polytechnic School. After completing his engineering studies, he worked in various jobs at 7 different places. Sometimes he worked as a draftsman, and at other times, he became a designer. Through these jobs, he explored his environment, and one thing became clear to him, that moving forward, he wanted to create cars that were not horse-drawn carriages. Carl Benz left his job at the age of 27 and made a mechanic his business partner. This business partner's name was August Ritter, and together they opened an ironworks. In his free time, Mr. Benz was always involved in making cars that could move on their own. Carl wasn't sure what to do next because both his business partner and Gustav Ritter owned shares in the company. Due to this, Carl couldn't leave the company because it was his source of livelihood. All the money for building used to come from this ironworks, but in this difficult situation, a girl named Bertha Ringer helped him. Eventually, she became his wife. Now, the family of Bertha had saved some money for her dowry. Bertha, in a bold move, used some of that money to buy August Ritter's shares. As a result, now there were only 2 owners of the ironworks, Bertha and Mr. Carl Benz. For the next 10 years, they obtained numerous patents under their names. These included a patent on how to ignite the engine battery, another one for creating a gear shift, a third one for the clutch, a fourth one for making a carburetor, a fifth one for keeping the engine cool, and a 6th patent for the spark plug. The 7th patent was for a speed regulator. Even after acquiring these patents, the company was not making enough money. Mr. Carl Benz then decided to sell some shares of the company to investors. In return, he took money. This process continued, and in the end, Mr. Carl Benz was left with only 5% of the company. Due to this, all the other investors decided to remove Carl from his position. Given a small position, Carl was very unhappy. Mr. Benz had realized that his dreams couldn't come true by staying in this company. He decided to leave the company and, once again, started from scratch. After a few weeks, Benz met 2 brothers named Max Rose and Frederick Wilhelm, who owned a bicycle shop. The 3 of them collaborated to form a new company named Benz & C. This company quickly found success. Benz had ample time to work on his engine, and in 1885, he created a car that could move on its own. He named it the Benz Patent Motor Wagon, and its maximum speed was 16 km per hour. Controlling this early model was challenging, and during a public demonstration, it crashed into a wall. As a result, the model didn't sell well. In the following year, 1886, he introduced Model 2, and 2 years later, Model 3. Mrs. Benz was confident that Model 3 was excellent, and needed publicity to sell well. However, Mr. Benz was not convinced. He knew that if Model 3 faced any accidents like the previous model, it might not succeed again. Mr. Benz was not promoting the models because he believed they wouldn't sell. Then, on August 4, 1888, Bertha made a decision. She secretly went to her 5 children at night, whispered something in the ears of 2 of them, and returned to bed with her husband. The next morning, no one could have imagined what Bertha did. Bertha Benz, the following day, quietly got up and took her two sons, Richard and Eugene, along. She took out the Benz Model 3, started the car, and set out on a journey to her mother's place, which was 106 kilometers away. When people saw her, they were scared, thinking it was some kind of ghost moving on its own without a horse. Nevertheless, Mrs. Benz kept going. At that time, Model 3 could only hold 4.5 liters of fuel, which was a petroleum solvent. To buy fuel, she had to stop the car at a pharmacy because there were no petrol pumps at that time. Interestingly, this pharmacy in Germany is now called the first fuel station of the world. Apart from that, the roads were not good, and the car frequently broke down. Bertha had to repair the car using her hairpin, and at one point, she had to stop at a cobbler's shop to replace the wooden brakes with leather brakes. Despite these challenges, Bertha and her two sons took 12 hours to cover the distance. When they arrived, she sent a telegram to her husband, informing him that she had reached her mother's house. After a few days, she returned with this car to Carl Benz. This trip brought a lot of publicity to their business. Bertha informed Carl about improvements to the brakes, which led to a change in the design. For the first time, a wife brought her husband's invention to the world. This activity gained a lot of publicity for the company, and their internal combustion engine sold well. The company became the world's largest automobile company, and 2,000 cars were sold in 1899, which was a significant number at that time since everyone used horse-drawn carriages, and only wealthy people could afford these cars. During this time, Benz's company was doing well. However, another company emerged that made excellent cars. This company was Daimler Motors, which made cars as good as Benz's. The name of this competent model was Daimler Motors. It had two partners, Gottlieb Daimler and Wilhelm Maybach. While both were engineers, Daimler was also a savvy businessman. He knew how to maximize profit from his business, unlike Mr. Carl Benz, who wasn't as good a businessman. The cars from 1887 were even better than those of Daimler Motors. After this, Diamond Motors created its masterpiece, the 35-horsepower car, which was named Daimler Motor Company's owners accepted this and the model became very famous. After this, Germany's economic conditions were not good, which led to slow sales for both Benz and Daimler cars. Now, both companies decided to merge, and they actually did so. The company was named Daimler-Benz after this, and instead of calling all the models produced by these two companies Diamond-Benz, they called it Mercedes-Benz. As music, and all these models were designed by a very famous designer named Ferdinand Porsche. You must have heard the name. In April 1929, Carl Benz passed away at the age of 84. After this, Adolf Hitler entered the scene. Hitler liked Mercedes-Benz so much that he used to travel in it himself. He wanted the whole world to know that German cars were the best. Therefore, he told Daimler-Benz company to make a car that would be the fastest in the world. It indeed became so. In all the car races that took place around that time, Mercedes-Benz cars won. Another company that was winning car races at that time was Auto Union, but it was also a German company. Then, in 1939, World War II started. During World War II, Hitler told German companies, including Daimler-Benz, that they would now only produce products for the army. Therefore, Daimler-Benz also stopped its main production. Nazi Germany started making vehicles and trucks for Germany. When Hitler asked Benz's company to make vehicles and trucks as well, initially, Benz hired women workers. But when that didn't work out, they forced concentration camp prisoners to work. At one point, 63,000 prisoners were working for the Benz company. When Germany lost the war, the image of these companies became very bad because they had forced prisoners to work. Daimler-Benz even faced lawsuits. They settled some of them by selling their manufacturing plants outside Germany to foreign companies, leaving only the manufacturing plants in Germany. After this, the company started building its image. They first made ambulances, and then vehicles for the police. Later on, they started making cars for common people. If I talk about the financial year 2022, they sold 2.4 million cars, with a total value of 13.64 billion Indian. Whether they have cleared Tata.com or created a unicorn. If we talk about the post-World War II period, they launched one luxury car after another, such as 1950, W17-220, a full-size luxury car. 1951, Grand Touring luxury car W16-300. 1956, W121 1990. 1960, W112 220S. 1968, W100 600. 1972, W114 200E. 1978, R107 SL class. 1980, W123 midsize executive car. 1981, W123 executive class car. 1990, W1668 A-class. 1995, W210 E-class. 1997, W463 G-class. 1998, W1663 M-class. 1998, W140 S-class. 2000, W1669 A-class. 2004, W245 B-class. 2007, W204 C-class. 2007, C216 S-class. 2011, W415 Citan. 2012, W176 A-class. 2013, R231 SL class. 2013, C117 CLA. 2013, X156 GLA. 2014, W222 S-class. 2015, W205 C-class. 2016, W213 E-class. 2017, W177 A-class. 2018, C118 CLA Coupe. 2019, C118 CLA Shooting Brake. 2020, W247 B-class. 2021, W206 C-class Estate. 2022, C167 EQS SUV.